My name is Evelyn Curlee. I live here in Tullahoma. A lot of you are very familiar to me. You've traveled with me, or I've just known you through other avenues. I've been selling travel for 8 years, and a large percentage of my business is group travel. People love going in a group. They love sitting back and let somebody else do the work, and they just sort of show up and there you go. So after this meeting, you know, tonight we're going to talk about Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore and the Wild West. I do have some flyers over here of some other groups that I am escorting this year and next year. So if you have an interest to see what else is on tap, you're more than welcome to pick up a flyer on that, that glass stand over there, or we'll move them over here for when you leave. I'm really excited about this trip. I've been out there one time about probably 20 years ago, and I've been wanting to go back, and I've had a lot of people express an interest in that part of the country. So I'm excited to offer this trip. Jennifer Power from Premier World Discovery is here. She's going to give us a nice presentation. She will be available to answer questions at the end. I think her presentation will be about 30 minutes, and then there will be plenty of time for questions and answers. So I'm just going to have a seat and hand it over to Jennifer.
So glad all of y'all could come out and join me today and learn a little bit more about this trip out west. So I absolutely love this trip. You're in for a treat. That's for sure. So as Evelyn mentioned, we're going out to Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone, and the Western Frontiers. This is a 9-day, 8-night program. We are flying into Rapid City and out of Salt Lake City. So if you don't have a flyer already, just raise your hand. We'll make sure you get one. We also have additional copies if you want to take some extra home to a family member or friend. So a little bit more about me. As Evelyn had mentioned, I'm Jennifer Powers with Premier World Discovery, and I've been in the travel and hospitality business for over 25 years now. I think it's more like 28. Time flies, and I've had the privilege and I've been very blessed to have traveled the world. I've traveled 5 continents. I've got 2 left, and you could probably guess what one of those would be. Antarctica? Right. So maybe when I'm 60, I'll do that. So that's on the list. But off to the right-hand side is one of my favorite destinations, the Grand Canyon and Sedona area. And to the left in 2018, I took a family heritage trip to Norway. So again, just wonderful travel in my life. So are we ready to travel yet? So nowadays, this could take on a whole new meaning, right? So a little bit more about Premier World Discovery. We were established back in 1999. Our headquarters are in Redondo Beach, California. I'm actually out in the field. I'm located up in Nashville. And we specialize in group travel for the active adult. A little bit more about our membership and affiliations. We're an active member of USTOA, which requires us to post $1 million bond, as well as memberships in American Bus Association, National Tour Association, and the Better Business Bureau. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We also carry a $5 million liability insurance policy. So what is USTOA? That's the United States Tour Operator Association. We are one of 54 elite members of this association, and what this does for you, it provides you a $1 million protection plan in case anything happens financially with our company. I know Evelyn, she wants to make sure that the travel providers and vendors that she uses are financially stable and have this sort of backing. We offer quality tours and unique itineraries. We have over 80+ worldwide itineraries and different guided travel styles. We have our 1 hotel and limited hotel stays, our classic tours, our rail journeys and train tours, our exotic discovery tours, and our exclusive river cruise charters. We use quality hotel accommodations. So the accommodations you should expect would be 4-star or more. and we like to give you a flavor of the destination that we're traveling to. We have 8 nights, as I mentioned, on this program. We're doing 3 nights at the Downtown Holiday Inn in Rapid City, 1 night at the Holiday Inn Sheridan, 2 nights at the Holiday Inn Grey Wolf Inn and Suites or the Yellowstone Park Hotel in West Yellowstone. We'll know which hotel property once we know the number of people that have signed up. And then we're doing 1 night at the Hampton Inn in Jackson and then 1 night at the Hilton, Marriott, or Sheraton in Salt Lake City. This is a professionally led tour. So you have a full-time tour director that's with you 24/7, and as Evelyn had mentioned, they do all the work as well as Evelyn does all the work to make sure that you're having a great time. And they are a specialist in the area that we're traveling to. We travel in style. So primarily on this trip, you're going to be traveling by motor coach, flying into the destination and then boarding a motor coach. The itinerary is very inclusive of sightseeing and admissions. So what you see on the itinerary is what you get on the itinerary. Okay? There's nothing that we hide on the itinerary. And there are also no optional excursions on this tour. So we're not going to nickel and dime you once you get on the tour. We offer those unique and cultural experiences. Let's talk about food. I love talking about food. We have breakfast daily at the hotels. That's a full breakfast buffet. It's not your continental breakfast. We also have the welcome and farewell dinners as well as themed meals. So there are a total of 12 meals on this program, 4 dinners and 8 breakfasts. Round trip airfare is included out of Nashville. So I am sure with the number of people that have signed up, we will probably have 10 or more people sign up on this tour. So we will send a motor coach out here to take you to the Nashville airport, which is nice, so you don't have to deal with the parking and the traffic. So this is our itinerary map. We're going to fly into Rapid City and do some touring on the outskirts of Rapid City, and then we're going to head on over to Sheridan, down to Cody and Yellowstone National Park, and then we're going to head south through the Grand Tetons and Jackson, and then we'll end up in Salt Lake City. So our Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone, and Western Frontiers, as I mentioned, a 9-day, 8-night program includes Yellowstone, Badlands, Grand Tetons National Park, also Mount Rushmore. Not only are we going to see it during the day, we're going to see it in the evening as well. So that's definitely a special treat. We'll visit Crazy Horse Memorial, Fort Hays and Rapid City, Jackson Hole Valley, Buffalo Bill Historical Center, Devil's Tower and Deadwood, a cowboy cookout, and then a Salt Lake City tour. So day 1, we're going to fly into Rapid City, South Dakota. So Rapid City has about 500,000 in population. So get your rest that first evening, because we're going to start on day 2 off with a bang. So we're going to go out to the Badlands and Fort Hays. But a little bit more about Salt Lake City, or excuse me, Rapid City. It is the Star of the West. It's also known as the City of Presidents. Now, on our way out to the Badlands, we're going to stop at Wall Drug, which was established back in 1931 in the middle of nowhere. So in order to draw people into the store, they decided that they were going to start offering free ice water, and they still do that today. But it's a great place to buy some souvenirs. They're very well known, believe it or not, for their donuts. In the middle of nowhere. All right, and then we're going to be off to Badlands National Park. It covers a total area of 244,000 acres and has over 1 million visitors a year. Now, the park is filled with badlands, and it's very dry, crumbly terrain that has been heavily eroded by wind and water. So very interesting rock formations and some of the hoodoos. And then we're going to be off to Fort Hays, which was the film location of Dances with Wolves. We'll have a little tour there. And we'll be back to Rapid City, where we're going to have a chuck wagon supper and cowboy show. On day 3, we're going to head on out to Mount Rushmore as well as Crazy Horse. So Mount Rushmore was actually established back in 1927, and it was finished 14 years later in 1941. So you can imagine why famous artist Gunnson Borglum designed Mount Rushmore. He also designed, how about this, Stone Mountain in Georgia. Who knew, right? Now let's put things in perspective. George Washington's face alone is the size of a moving truck. Okay, we'll put that in perspective. And over 400 workers worked on this monument and nobody perished. It's amazing, especially with all the rappelling that they were doing off the side there. Now, Borglum picked the 4 presidents that had a hand in the greatest American events in history. And just to give you an idea of what presidents and what they were known for, Washington represented birth. Jefferson was known for the Louisiana Purchase, which represented growth. And Roosevelt, the Panama Canal, was known for the president of development. And then Lincoln was known for preservation because of the Civil War. And then we'll be off to Crazy Horse, which was started back in 1947, so a little bit newer. The face of the sculpture is a towering 87 feet and was dedicated in 1998. Now, when it's completed, it will be the world's largest sculpture. So it's being carved by people, not by equipment. And let's talk about size comparison as well. So if you take the size of the Crazy Head horse alone, it's 27 feet taller than Mount Rushmore, the presidents of Mount Rushmore. And then we'll be back to Mount Rushmore for an evening there. You're in for a treat. And then on day 4, we're going to travel over to Deadwood and also Devil's Tower in Sheridan. So welcome to Deadwood. So do you want to live out your Wild West fantasies here? So it's kind of like a tame Wild West show without any of the violence. It's not like Westworld, for example. You're not going to have that, but some live entertainment there. It's also known, and actually the whole town is a National Historic Landmark. Now, Deadwood was a gold camp, and it was part of one of the great gold rushes in America. And as I mentioned, some live entertainment. And you'll see the site where Wild Bill was shot, so we'll point that out to you as well. The burial grounds of Wild Bill and Calamity Jane. And then we're off to one of my favorite national monuments. This is Devil's Tower. So it's in the middle of a Ponderosa Plain. I don't know if you've been out there, but you know, it's flat. It's a plain, and all of a sudden you see this huge monument. I mean, this huge sculpture. It's just unbelievable. Now, there's been a lot of argument as far as how this rock was shaped, the formation of it, and many agree, scientists agree, that it was a volcano. Now, I always remember it for Close Encounters, right? And I don't know how many people have watched it lately, or if you remember the scene here, where Dreyfus was actually carving Devil's Tower out of mashed potatoes. Does anybody remember that? Yep. So we'll see Devil's Tower up close and personal. It's 867 feet from the base to the summit, and the top is 1.5 acres. And it's a very big destination for climbers, world-renowned. It's also a Native American site as well. Later, we're going to arrive in Sheridan for an overnight stay. And on day 5, we're going to head on over to Cody and West Yellowstone. So arrive in Cody. It was named after Buffalo Bill Cody. Now, Buffalo Bill was an American soldier, bison hunter, and showman. So we're going to learn a little bit more about him. He definitely turned his real life into the first outdoor Western show and toured Europe 8 times. 8 times, so very well known here. But we're going to visit the Buffalo Bill Center. It has 5 museums, so you're in for a treat. We'll spend a lot of time there, and one is dedicated to the Native American culture. Others are dedicated to the Wild West. And then we'll be off to West Yellowstone. It's about 2 hours, and we're going to have our 2-night stay in West Yellowstone. So get a good night's sleep, because on day 6, we're going into Yellowstone National Park. Now, Yellowstone was the nation's and the world's first national park, actually established back in 1872. We'll see Old Faithful, which shoots up 44 to 125 feet, is on quite the schedule here. But we're going to also see these geothermal events here, which this is the painted pot. Now, if you look in the background here, you can actually see the boardwalk. So we're going to be walking some of that, actually, to see some of these features up close and personal. But the thermal features, there's over 10,000 of them in Yellowstone. Now, the temps are so high, I would not recommend diving into one of these pools, because it can blister your skin. It's like a liquid acid in your car battery, just to put things in perspective there. So you don't want to tap that little toe in the painted pot here. But what gives it its color, its rings of different bacteria. And then, of course, you're going to want to see all of the wildlife while we're there. There's over 4,500 buffalo in Yellowstone and over 200 species of animals in the park. And on day 7, we're going to travel down to Grand Tetons and then Jackson Hole. Now, the Grand Tetons was established relatively new within the park system back in 1929. Now, the mountains are so rugged. If you've been to Switzerland, for example, it definitely reminds me of the Alps. But some beautiful sights there. It's definitely a hidden gem. I think a lot of times when people go out west, they're so focused on Yellowstone, they bypass Grand Tetons. So we definitely make a stop there. And then we're going to travel to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Now, Jackson Hole was originally named after Davy Jackson. He was a mountain man who trapped in the area during the late 1800s. And you may want to get a picture of the antler arch here. And then that evening you'll have at leisure, you can go out and grab a bite to eat. I would highly recommend that you go to the Cowboy Bar and get some pictures. You can saddle up right to the bar here. Evelyn, I hope you bring a picture home of this. All right. And on day 8, we're going to travel from Jackson down to Salt Lake City, through the Wasatch Mountains. Absolutely spectacular. I actually was up there this past summer, up in Park City, doing some hiking in the Wasatch Mountains. But very beautiful mountains out there, lots of pine and colors. And then we'll be down into Salt Lake City, which was established in 1847 by Brigham Young. We'll see the state capitol on our city tour. And of course, the Salt Lake Temple of the Mormon Church of the Tabernacle. It's Mormon Park, and of course the Tabernacle now. And they're well known for their 360-person world-famous choir. And then we'll see the University of Utah and also the site of the Salt Lake City 2002 Winter Olympics. And then we'll have our farewell dinner before we depart on day 9 back to Nashville. So a little bit more about the trip. The average temperatures are going to be quite pleasant compared to our Tennessee temperatures. Average high in Rapid City is 82. In Salt Lake, it will be 88. Keep in mind that this is dry heat, so it's going to feel even cooler out there. So just to touch on some of the highlights again, our 9-day, 8-night program covers Yellowstone, the Badlands, Grand Teton National Park, Mount Rushmore at night, Crazy Horse Memorial, Fort Hays, and Rapid City, Jackson Hole, also Buffalo Bill Historical Center, Devil's Tower and Deadwood, the Cowboy Cookout, and also a Salt Lake City tour. The tour includes the round-trip airfare out of Nashville, all the air taxes and fuel surcharges, 12 meals, that's 7 breakfasts and 5 dinners, our professional tour director, motor coach transportation, hotel transfers, admission and sightseeing per the itinerary. My favorite, baggage handling at the hotels. So once you get into Rapid City, you can say goodbye to handling your luggage, because we handle it for the remainder of the trip. And as I mentioned, if we have 10 or more people sign up, we will be sending a motor coach out here to take you to the Nashville airport. The tour activity level, I wanted to let you know, is a 3 out of 4. So there will be some unlevel terrain out there and maybe some dirt walking trails. So just please be advised of that. Sturdy, comfortable shoes are highly recommended. You do not have to do all of the sites. If you want to sit down at one of the park benches, you can just let your tour director know, or Evelyn, and we'll just make sure that you are comfortable and you know where to go after the tour that day. So the day of departure is Wednesday, August 2nd through Thursday, August 10th. The regular rate is $40.25. With our booking discount, it's $39.25 if you make your final payment by check. Okay, so you get a $100 discount if you make your final payment by check. Final payment is 75 days before departure. As I mentioned, that $100 discount. Reservations are on a first come, first served basis. This is a combined departure, so there are going to be other travel groups joining us. We have a total of 25 seats available. So if you have an interest, I would definitely sign up today. I think we have like 32 people here for the presentation. The deposit is $300. And as I mentioned, our final payment is 75 days before departure. Now, I wanted to mention this. We have a no risk, no change fee policy in place. So once you put a deposit down, you can actually get your deposit, all of your deposit back in cash if you can't, or if you cancel by February 2nd. After February 2nd, up until 75 days before departure, if you cancel, you'll get your deposit back in a form of a future travel credit. So you're not losing that money. After that, there are penalties. You'll see it on the back of your form. I would definitely recommend reading that as well. And we do offer travel protection plan insurance, which is $299. I would highly recommend insurance no matter what, whether it's taken through me or through another company. I know Evelyn has some providers as well that you can check into. But definitely do that, especially now. Once you travel with Premier, you'll be enrolled in our Compass Club, which means that the next Premier trip that you travel on, you'll get a $100 discount. So you would get a booking discount and then that $100 off for Compass Club on the next Premier trip that you take. So again, here is our flyer, and on the back of the flyer is the reservation form that you can fill out. So you can sign up tonight. You can make your payment by check, your deposit by check, or by credit card. But I would highly recommend you make your final payment by check, because you get that $100 off. So if you don't have Evelyn's information, this is actually on the back of the sign-up form. So her email is on that as well, so you can contact her via email or by phone. So thank you so much for coming out tonight, and does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Everything is priced by a double rate. Are there signals going on this trip?
If you would like to travel as a single, there would be a single supplement. I do believe that's $1,125. Evelyn's going to check that, but $1,250 on top of the rate, on the double rate. So that question was about the single supplement, in case anybody wanted to go as a single traveler, meaning single in a room. You're not sharing a room.
So our group was potentially 25 people. Did
Yes.
you say we might be combined with other groups?
Yes, there will be other travel groups joining us from across the country.
So when we're on the motor culture, it's gonna be more than 25 people in
Yes, there will be.
When we're doing the walk around tour, it's gonna be more than 25 people.
Correct. Yes. So there are other groups that will be joining us. That was the question, since this is a combined departure. So there will be more than 25 people. We can actually take it up to 52. Usually it's up to 48. So we have a few extra seats empty.
If you
Yes.
do the deposit tonight and you do it by check, who do you write the check to? Who do you?
I do believe it's Premier World Discovery. Evelyn, can you double check that? It's on the,
Yeah.
I think we said Premier
Yes,
on the reservation form.
it says Premier World Discovery.
There we go. Any other questions? If you're too shy, I'll be up here afterwards.
You get to go in Salt Lake City, do you get to go into the temple?
Right now, we can't go into the temple because it's actually under construction. Yes, so that's a 3-year plan that they have. I was there trying to tour it this summer, and it's even hard to actually get to the temple, but you'll see all the scaffolding around. And the reason that they're doing this, and I don't remember this, but Salt Lake City, I think it was in 2020, 2021, had a minor earthquake. So that's one of the reasons they're actually doing some construction on the temple, is to stabilize it to where if there's another earthquake that hits, they're not going to get too much damage.
Well, thank you all so much for coming, and I hope some of you will consider going on this trip with me. I think we're going to have a great time. Oh, wait, you got a question? Yes, it's $300 per person. Right?
Correct, 300 per
300
person.
Yeah, the deposit is $300 per person. But everybody's got my phone number, you've got my email, you know how to get hold of me. If you have any questions at all about the trip, be sure and reach out and let me know. And I've got a few other flyers up here about some of my other trips that I'm doing later this year and next year. So feel free to pick up one of those, when you walk out. And Jennifer and I will be here if you have any other questions. Thank you for coming.